What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here with your Packers Daily Chat for Cheesehead TV, coming to you live on the YouTube channel, on Facebook, wherever you are on the internet. That's where we want to be. We're devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide, and can you believe it? Only 3 days till the draft. Thank you. Hallelujah. No more mock drafts, please. Lord, baby Jesus, help me. Hello. Isn't a brick wall a background for stand-up comedians? It is also representative of the bricks of Lambeau, sir. And what you're talking about. Hola, hello. Good day to everybody in the live chat. Always good to see such spirited debate going on, even before I pop on live. Brian Gutekunst, general manager of the Green Bay Packers, spoke with the media today, and whoo boy, was it a barn burner. He talked about... Oh, sorry. I was thinking about Brian Gutekunst's press conference in the long tradition of Ted Thompson carrying the torch of saying a lot of words and not saying anything. Of course, that is what general managers do. Leading up to the draft, they don't want to tip their hand. Brian Gutekunst was no different today as he parried and volleyed with the local media. When are you going to get your mock draft? I don't know. I don't even think I'm going to do one. Who cares? I mean, there's a billion mock drafts out there. One more ain't going to make a difference. I will read Bob McGinn's mock draft. That's about the extent of my mock draft. Scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for the draft? Chad, I will be excited when the draft starts on Thursday night. Right now, 3 days before the draft, I am ready for the draft to be over. I hate the lead up to the draft. I hate how long the NFL has made it. It used to be, you had to wait a little while after the combine, but, you got just enough, and then the buildup was good. And then you got to the draft, and it was over, and then you had your team, right? And then you could spend the offseason talking about the team. But now, holy cow, they just draw it out so long. And it's so annoying. The draft industrial complex has made it such a laborious time in the NFL calendar. I hate this part of the year. Mock drafts really bore the heck out of me. Nick, at this point they do. I think the thing with mock drafts is they're fine as thought experiments, as jumping off points for conversations. It's the indignant responses to some of the mock drafts that tire me out. This would never happen. Great. Bully for you for pointing that out. Of course it would never happen. Everybody knows that going in. Andy Herman predicted Montez Sweat. I changed my mind a lot the last few weeks, but in short, I like it. You? It really depends on the medical, right? I know the reports are out there, one of which was by my good friend Matt Miller over there at Bleacher Report, that several teams have him completely off the board due to the heart condition. Only the Packers know for sure where he sits on their board, obviously. As a player, you look at the tape and the measurables and the athletic testing, and yeah, you like him as a prospect, but without knowing anything on the medical, it's really hard to say. Sorry, guys. My phone be blowing up. Dags, Hawkinson or Williams at 12. Jack, I would go Hawkinson, but that's just me. No idea where he would go. Thanks to the draft guide, I won't have to worry about mock drafts. Exactly right, Ice Tray. And if you guys haven't purchased your draft guide yet, please do so. You got several days before the draft is over. You don't need that draft guide anymore, but be informed, be entertained, be amazed with the Cheesehead TV draft guide, available at cheeseheadtv.com. And on a serious note, if you did order it in the past week or so and you had an issue with your order, I know there have been a few out there where we had major problems technically with PayPal, where a lot of the orders got abandoned and or got basically switched off. Please log back in, reattempt your order, and or shoot an email to contact@cheeseheadtv.com with your order number, and we'll get it sorted out for you. Nagler, does this new Packer Daily set include the ISO cam? Yes. Seems like the Packers are going to be in London in 2020. Who do you have them playing? Chargers? No, if they were going to be playing the Chargers in London, it would have happened this year. I have no idea who they might play in 2020. I hope that happens, though, because I would love to go to London. Kevin, I like how YouTube has made Thornhill or Savage at 44. for some reason was I guess that's a state secret. I would probably go Savage myself, but I'm sure ideas and opinions around that selection would be debated. Are you on year-round? Paul, in all caps, as much as I can be. Yes. We try to give you guys content throughout the entire season and the entire off-season. There will be some stretches where if there's nothing going on at 1265 Lombardi, we may take a slight break, but for the most part, yes. On and ready to go all the time. Oh, buddy, deep down, we all just want a glass of Giants milk. You got that right. Hi, Aaron. With all the hype surrounding Dez Bryant last offseason, do you think it's worth looking at Dez if it means a vet minimum contract? Frank, I thought it meant a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense last year. I think now that the draft from last season has come and gone and we've seen the potential from the guys that they drafted, I don't think it makes a world of sense to bring in Dez Bryant. Is Cole Madison a starter this season? Dusty, that remains to be seen. Gudykunst saying that it was a very pleasant surprise to see him report to the offseason program. We got to see him on the field. We've got college tape to look at, but until we see him against NFL competition, he's a real big question mark and an unknown. I definitely think he'll be in the mix. It will be interesting to see how much of a real shot he's given. But I do think, last year they said during that draft weekend when we got to talk to Gudykunst after the selection, they all indicated that he would be starting out inside at guard. So I think that would remain the case, and I think he'll have a shot to get that starting job at right guard. Seattle wants to trade Frank Clark before Thursday and wants a first rounder. Think Goot gives up 30. I don't see it. Just wondered what you think. Steven, I would be absolutely shocked if he gave up a draft selection for Frank Clark. I think Clark's a fine player. He does have some off-field baggage from back in his college days. And I don't think it's the type of thing that Gudykunst would invite into his locker room. That's not saying that I would take him off my potential board for that reason, but for Gudykunst, I think that would be a non-starter. All right, let's see what's going on the old tweet machine, shall we? See what's happening with the Uncultured Barbarian, who says, many fans I've talked to have said that the Packers should trade down in the first round, while I think you should pick a playmaker, especially if you are picking high for the second season in a row. I hear you, and I feel both arguments. I, for a very long time, was very much beating the drum of you have to make the pick. I get the idea of wanting to drop down and get more selections, more chances, etc. But the lack of difference makers on the defensive side of the ball for such a long time sure seemed to be hindering them. But I understand it depends on the offer. I think, as Gudykunst is fond of saying, it's a case-by-case basis. If something like what happened last year, where the Saints want to jump up, make a huge jump, and offer a first-round pick, you'd be foolish not to talk about it, or at least not to think about it. Gudykunst was asked about that today, and the seeds of that move, the first conversation for it, happened about a week and a half before the draft actually began. So you have to think, if the Packers have spoken to a team or two about the possibility of, hey, if you guys get on the clock and this guy's available, we want to come get him. You got to think those seeds have been sown at this point. How likely do you believe it is that Green Bay goes linebacker with one of the first-round picks? The Smiths appear, anecdotally, to be more gifted in pass rush/run stuffing versus dropping into coverage, which leaves Blake and hopefully Oren. Tyler, I think there's a possibility at 12 that they get one of the off-ball linebackers. But that doesn't, I don't think who they've signed in free agency is necessarily a driver there. More than anything, it opens them up to the possibility of selecting the best possible player. That's, again, something Gudykunst talked about today. That's how you want to use free agency. You don't want to use it and then cut yourself off from certain players in the draft because, we've filled our shopping list. You want to use free agency to give you the best base to work off talent-wise so that you can keep adding the best players that become available in the draft. I don't think there's any way they look at a guy on the board who's, say, again, to use your word anecdotally, let's say this guy is far and away the best player on our board, but, we signed 2 edge players and a rusher, during free agency, so we can't take him or we shouldn't take him. You absolutely should take that guy. If he's far and away the best rated player on your board, grab him. Over, under on the number of draft day trades that Goody makes this year. 4. Is there any player in this draft that if they fell to 7 or 8 that you could see Gudykunst wanting to trade up and get? Ed Oliver? That's my final answer. Hey, Ron. What's up, Craig? Mad props for the draft guide. I use this thing to make friends think that I know what the hell I'm talking about. Like, share, and subscribe. Craig's got the right idea. Let's head back over to the live chat. God bless Endgame and the draft in the same week. Matthew, and on top of that, you can come watch the draft with me on Saturday at Kettle of Fish in the Village. Day 3 of the draft. I'm going to be sitting, drinking beer in a dive bar in Greenwich Village. I hope you guys come and keep me company, talk some Packers, drink some beer. And then Saturday night, I'm DJing in Queens. Turn up. Does LaFleur have a lot of say in the draft, being as it's his system? Jeremy, I would think he would be a sounding board for the personnel group, and they'll undoubtedly ask his opinions / get his input, but he doesn't have much say, if any say, when it comes to the actual selection of the players. That is entirely on Gutekunst and his squad. I get this question pretty much every chat and every time I do a podcast or anything, but I'm going to keep answering it. If you could pick one player to make a big second-year jump, who would it be? Tony Brown. Bring it on. Do we get a hint on surprise guest? Yes! Yes, you do. Here's the hint on the surprise guest. There's not going to be one. How's that action? So, okay, for Thursday night, for the live draft stream, I've been working nonstop for like months on getting a group of people in this studio to watch the draft as a second stream and then, just have a party, drink beer, and watch the draft and just have fun commenting on it. Well, all those plans basically went up in smoke the last kind of month, as everybody I had hoped to get in here, whether it was Ryan Grant, Ben Fennell, Amani Jones, Liz Gonzalez, I had all these people lined up to come in here and just have a party and watch the draft and just, kind of shoot the shit about it. Well, all of them either had work commitments or things come up, which meant they had to drop out. So essentially, it's going to be basically myself and Corey having a watch party with the draft. Join us, won't you? It'll be a lot of fun. There'll still be beer. We'll still be watching the draft and still be talking junk. What about Packerman? Packerman will be there. No doubt about it. And I tell you what, there are certain selections that if they happen, Packerman could be in trouble. Nags, I'll have a beer with you if the Packers come here to the UK next year. Kevin, I look forward to it, buddy. Cheers. Katie, honestly, where do you see us picking Thursday? At 12 and 30. I'll be surprised if there's a lot of trading going on for the Packers this year. No, I say that and watch them trade 3 times on Thursday night. But yeah, I think they're going to make the selections. Packerman is the only special guest you need. You damn right. Nags in the mullet. Hi from the Netherlands. What's up, Javier? Thanks for joining us, man. If it came down to DK Metcalf and Hollywood Brown at 30, I would go Hollywood Brown each and every time. We don't need special guests. Nags, Corey, and Packerman are enough. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see. What beer will you be drinking? The one in front of me. BJ Raji at 30, right? Does Cheesehead TV have a beer sponsor yet? Allison? No, we do not. It's the great disappointment of my life. We talked to a few people, but nothing that really worked and fit and we felt like was good for us. Well, we're keeping our options open. We'll see. Nags, drinking beer with you and talking Packers is officially on my bucket list. Chad, I would say expand your list, but man, you do you. I hope that happens sometime. Will Banky be making old fashions Thursday? Banky will be switching the show, so I hope not. DK Metcalf at 12 and Packerman must die. Kevin, you're turning this into an episode of Game of Thrones here. I think we should just chill out. Thanks for answering my Twitter question. Tyler, thanks you for giving it to me. Do you think the Pack tries to trade up in the second round to grab a safety or someone who falls? Ryan, it's really impossible to say without knowing how the board is falling. And who they have on hand from the first round, there's always a chance. It's really impossible to say without knowing how they've got players grouped on their board and who they've selected earlier on. O-line should be a priority. David, I tend to agree. I think there's no doubt you watch last year and you think they've really got to kind of solidify there. But look, I mean, between Nico Saragusa, the arrival of Cole Madison, Billy Turner in free agency, I don't think they're in the dire straits they were in, say, at the end of the season. Now, does that mean they should, eschew the idea of bringing in more offensive linemen via the draft? Absolutely not. But I don't think it's the dire need that maybe it was after they closed up shop against the Lions in Week 17. Now, all that said, there are still future considerations. You have Brian Bulaga entering the last year of his contract, and we know is, more than probable that he misses some time this season. So you're going to need someone to play tackle. Is that Billy Turner? Is that somebody they're going to draft? I don't know. But you're going to have to find his heir apparent, no doubt about it. Likelihood of re-signing Wilkerson if we draft a defensive lineman. Not good. Ha! Nags in the mullet in prime time featuring Packerman. I know where I'll be. I know where I'll be, Sean. Thank you. We've had hella success getting quality O-linemen in the later rounds. Brandon, that is true. But I would also note that the group, personnel-wise, that made those selections is moved on, at least the top part of it. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't guys in the building still who had a hand in a lot of those selections, but it's not as easy as saying, well, they always do that. Well, they've always selected really good wide receivers in the second round. That was under Ted Thompson and a number of other guys who are no longer there. Same thing with offensive line. Yes, they've done a great job of finding guys on the third day. That doesn't mean it's going to hold true to form just because it's the Packers. Gudykunst and his guys, he's got his own shop now, and we'll see if those trends continue. I'm not saying they won't or can't. I'm just saying I don't know. Do you think Spriggs is on the roster week 1? No. First time you're ever making it live, feel the excitement. This is what it is. It's just me yelling and gesticulating. What does Corey think of your impression of him? Corey knows that everyone's got a Corey impression. We actually were just talking about it in the office the other day. Everybody's got a, dude, okay, here's what we're going to do. It's like, okay, you just keep blogging, and we'll do a podcast, and we'll call it She Said TV. Dude. The actual conversation that started this website. I doubt anyone wants Spriggs in trade. Deborah, you would be correct. Well, the thing with Spriggs is, look, he's got talent. He has a real problem putting it all together on a consistent basis. But yeah, no one's going to trade a pick for him. And if at this point in his career, if he hasn't fixed the things that were plaguing him early on, the things you knew were weaknesses coming into the league, you have seen absolutely no progression and no growth in those areas. And he is limited to being able to play one position. He cannot play guard or center. No one's given up any kind of draft capital for that player. Kenny Clark extension this year? I would hope so. Gudykunst was asked about the fifth-year option. It's got an early May deadline. He said it hasn't happened yet, but he expects it to. I think there's zero doubt that happens. But yes, sooner rather than later on extending Clark. The guy is a beast and needs to be in the fold as quick as possible. I want to see J.K. Scott on an episode of Transplants, please. That is going to happen. Hey, Nags, props from Germany. Why has the number of draft rounds been reduced from close to 20 in the 50s and 60s to 7 right now? Well, it used to be like 18, 19 too, and then that went down to like 14, 10, now down to 7. The size of the rosters, payment considerations from ownership, lots goes into it. How do you honestly think Randall Cobb will do in Dallas if he stays healthy? I think he's going to ball out. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize him, but yeah, I think he's going to put up some numbers. Pack will never pick at 30. They will trade for picks. It's a possibility, Jerry. No doubt about it. Oh, man, that's deep. Is there a Mrs. Nagler? There used to be. Oh! Whoa! Bringing it down. Who are your top 3 favorite players for the Packers to get at 12? Ed Oliver, and Ed Oliver. No, Ed Oliver, TJ Hawkinson, and I don't know, probably Devin Bush. Odds that Trevor Davis makes the 53-man roster, even if we don't draft a wide receiver. I think they're probably better than most people think they are. Simply because of the return ability. And I thought he played pretty damn well on special teams in general last year prior to being hurt again. Now, that's the thing. He's got to stay on the field. But not just as a returner, but as a gunner. He did some really good work last year. But I think the odds are long of him making it, but I think they're better than most. His chances are better than most people are kind of giving him credit for. What was your all-time favorite Packers team to watch? Oh, the 96 team, no question. I've told this story before, but when they took on Philadelphia in a primetime game, it was a Monday night game early on in the season. It was like week 2, I think. Edgar Bennett caught a wheel route up the right sideline. And I remember I had literally just moved to North Carolina, and I was watching with people I didn't really know. And I turned to this guy next to me, and I said, "We're going to the fucking Super Bowl." And I was like, you just knew it. They had been building and building and building, and at that play is where I knew they were going to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, that 96 team, it was just magic all around it. Hollywood or AJ, who's the better Brown? Whew, that's a good question, John. I think Hollywood's obviously the more explosive guy downfield. AJ is an absolute assassin with the ball in his hand after the catch. I would be very happy with either one of them in the green and gold. There's no doubt about that. Do you remember when you were banned on Twitter? Those were the days. Yeah, I remember Rogue Nagler 1 too. This is still, that account still exists too. Good times. What O-lineman will do well in a scheme that involves more running, and who will struggle? If you're talking about current offensive linemen on the Packers right now, I actually think the scheme they're going to be running fits with the personnel they have on hand very, very well. The outside zone, it's not much different than what they were already doing under McCarthy. There may be some more cut blocking. There may be, maybe they'll be on the move a little bit more, but I think all these years of getting these athletic linemen is going to, continue to pay off for them. Would number 12 be too high for Christian Wilkins? Deborah, for me personally, yeah, probably a little bit, but I'm nobody, The guys who grind the tape 365 and are making those decisions in 1265 Lombardi, if they have him evaluated and say that he's in that tier and they take him, then, fair play, right? How surprised were you that the 2011 team didn't make it to the Super Bowl? John, it sucked, but that day against the Giants when they lost that playoff game, it was just one of those games where, it just wasn't their day. They made uncharacteristic mistakes, whether it was, Clifton blowing a block when Rodgers had Greg Jennings up the left sideline for a touchdown, Ryan Grant fumbling, all sorts of things happened that day that just, hadn't happened most of the year, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Giving up that horrible Hail Mary, blah, blah, blah. It's just one of those, everything kind of perfect storm of suck, And those things tend to happen. That's what makes football so awesome. That's what makes playoff football so awesome, It's like, it's not a series. You got one day, one game, 1 3-hour window to make your case that you're the better team. I love that about it. So was I surprised? Not really, especially after they went into Kansas City and dropped that game, and you saw how when the offense could get slowed down a little bit, they were a vulnerable team. And I think you get to the playoffs, you're playing the better defenses. That's what happens. That's why you need to be more well-rounded than that team was. I want to see Rodgers putting on the belt this year. Kevin, I think we all want to see that. And if you want to see it in person, what you should do is check out the Ticket King via cheeseheadtv.com. If you go to our home page, website down there on the right side a little bit, you get a link to Ticket King. They'll get you everything you need, any game, home and away. They've been in Wisconsin since 1992. They are legit. They are the best. Check them out if you need tickets to the game. They're going to help you. I'm going to help you get to the draft. 3 days to go, people. Cannot wait. Cannot wait to get there. Can't wait for Thursday night. Hope you'll join us Thursday night here at cheeseheadtv.com. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to your question. But please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. Join our Patreon. My newest podcast is up. It's basically a Q&A that I did via Twitter. Tons of questions, tons of answers there. It's only $5 a month to support everything we do at Cheesehead TV via our Patreon page. Make sure you check that out. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night.